San Diego Comic-Con is the world's largest entertainment. Hang on, we're gonna skip the usual introduction to say thank you. Without you guys, without this community, there's no way I get this press pass. No way that I get access to insider interviews. No opportunity to see new product reveals. And certainly no chance to meet comic pros and celebrities. I just had one of the best weekends of my life. And it's all because of you guys. So I just want to stop and say thanks. Now, let's get to the good stuff. Hey y'all, and welcome back to Carbon Scoring, the best place for comics, history, and action figures. If I sound a little nasally, it's because I took in the complete Comic-Con experience, including bringing home the con crud. But that's not gonna stop us. Let's get back to San Diego Comic-Con 2024. As soon as we landed in sunny San Diego, little Spidey and I headed out exploring. We went straight to the convention center to get a sense of things, and clearly I couldn't hide my excitement. The convention is held in San Diego's Gaslamp district, and the whole place is dressed for the occasion, from pop-ups to immersive experiences. Wednesday night is preview night, and the floor is open from 6 until 9, so let's head inside and check it out. The second I walked inside the doors, I knew I was in heaven. I went up to the top floor to get my bag, and then it was off to the convention floor. Everybody at the con gets these giant bags for their loot, and they have these shoulder straps so that you can wear them as a backpack. But instead, you really just become a giant walking billboard. The Hasbro booth was smack dab in the middle of all the action, and it was covered with these great murals showcasing their biggest brands. I started with a quick look around the G.I. Joe displays, where some of the newest figures were out, and upcoming ones that I hadn't seen, like Alpine and Version 2 Storm Shadow were on display. Then, the big boy. Holy cow, the Dragonfly looks incredible in person. The bonus figures of Ripcord and Crazy Legs, as well as Glenda, are perfect, and that Wild Bill figure is even better than I imagined. Now on to the Marvel Legends display. Nothing that we haven't seen before at this point, but these displays change every day as new figures are announced at the con. Here's the Death's Head exclusive figure, more on him later, and a spectacular display with the very soon to arrive Giant Man. Dan Yoon said he may come to us as soon as October. Can't just let Hasbro have all the fun. Marvel Select had their upcoming releases out. And the early samples of Super7's O-Ring G.I. Joe figures were looking pretty good as well. Overall, it was a short night, but I did grab some exclusives. Let's take a look. The Super7 booth had some pretty cool exclusives, beginning with this Godzilla and Jet Jaguar from the final scene of Godzilla vs. Megalon. You can see, here's the clip from the movie where Godzilla and Jet Jaguar are actually shaking hands, and they perfectly replicated that in this packaging. Now, you guys know that I'm usually a loose collector. I usually take things out of packaging, but this one looks so good, and these colors are so fun, and the posing is so perfect. I'm probably gonna leave this in. I wasn't the biggest Godzilla fan, but after my recent trip to Japan this summer, I'm kind of turning into more of one, particularly when it comes to like vintage Japanese heroes, and Jet Jaguar just really captures all of that like giant robot goodness of that era. So when I saw that this was one of the exclusives, I knew I had to get it. A little bit more modern is this 40th anniversary Voltron figure from their Reaction line. They've done Voltron in this line before, but this is in special packaging. He does come with his sword, and it's a neat little package. It wasn't that expensive for an exclusive, and he looks really good boxed in this. Now, I am always going to pick up anything that has the cover of G.I. Joe issue 21, the famous silent issue. They've done this before with a full cover figure, but this is the black and white with the original art in black and white, which is really cool. It's actually interesting. It says San Diego 88 on here, which was written in at some time in the future because this issue came out in like 1982 or 83, sometime around then. But just another great version in the Reaction line of V1 Snake Eyes. And when you put it on a card back that replicates the original cover to issue 21, I'm all in. Thursday morning started bright and early, long before the convention doors opened, because I got invited to the Hasbro preview breakfast. The event was held at the Skybox at Diamond Tower, and let me tell you, as a sports fan, the view is pretty incredible. In addition to free food, we also got a first look at some upcoming figures, like Kang with his floating chair, and a 2-pack of 90s video game-inspired Sentinels. I know that he's already been announced, but in person, Odin is perhaps the best Marvel Legends figure I have ever seen. The Joe team had some surprises as well, with the premiere of Starduster, who's going to be a PulseCon exclusive in September. Are those Fang copters I see on the back of the package? And of course, their attention to detail was on full display, as this figure comes with a box of G.I. Joe Action Star cereal. His only animated appearance was in that cereal commercial. HasLabs were in full effect with a closer look at the Dragonfly and even better looks at Ripcord and Crazy Legs. Then, an up-close and personal view of Giant Man. I talked with Hasbro's Dan P. about the incredible detail in the figure's eyes. He said they're able to paint them from the inside to get that realistic glassy look. Super cool. He also described how the new inkjet printing process has allowed them unmatched realism in the figure's faces. Before leaving the breakfast, I had to get a clip of the stunning Robeson Megatron figure. I believe this is his party mode. The Hasbro breakfast was a real highlight of my trip, and not just because I got to see some early reveals, mostly because I got to connect with other members of the YouTube toy community. Everybody was so cool. Even though it was my first time, they all treated me like an old friend. I definitely encourage you to check out all of these guys because they're all super great.
Just making my morning walk down 5th Avenue, headed towards the convention center. Getting ready for day 2 of Comic-Con.
I didn't really know what to think of McFarlane's Marvel statues from the promo images alone, but after seeing them in person, I am for sure going to pick up some of these. The Spideys are a definite buy, and I also think that they look a lot better without the cardboard backdrops. Perhaps the greatest tradition of Comic-Con is waiting in line. Thankfully, I won a lottery to get a time slot for the Hasbro Pulse store. Let's check out what I got. One of the coolest exclusives at this year's San Diego Comic-Con is this Death's Head figure, version 1. And part of the reason why it is so great is the replica Marvel trading card box. This is so cool. It has such incredible artwork. It even has the trading card power-up design on the back where you can check all of Death's Head's stats and his write-up. Now, Ryan from the Marvel Legends team finally admitted that using the trading card art for the box art was mostly his idea. He even contributed his personal Death's Head card to in order for this to be made and for it to be absolutely accurate. So I kind of love this packaging. We're going to talk more about this packaging later in the video, but let's break this guy out and see what he looks like. So here is Death's Head out of the package, and it just has so much like retro 80s goodness. This character first appeared in Transformers issue 117, I believe, and before that he was actually in a like one-page Marvel UK imprint. So this is a dude from across the pond, and he was meant to be just sort of a throwaway character, but he was quickly so popular that they brought him back immediately, and he eventually transferred over into the main Marvel universe. And you can see why. His design is so great. I love these bright, bold colors. The yellow, red, and blue look so good. And then this head with the two giant fangs pointing out and like the devil horns, you know, on this like animatronic robot assassin is just so sweet. And I've also got to give the Marvel Legends team some credit. They're learning a few things from the G.I. Joe team, because here he has his shield, but when you take it off, it actually is able to hold all of his other accessories. They snap right onto the shield. You can take them off and put them right into his hands. So that way you've got them, you're not going to lose them. They all attach to the figure. It's a really nice touch, and it certainly works with this character. So that's pretty sweet. Now, this is not the first Death's Head we've gotten. No, we actually got Death's Head 2 previously in the Marvel Legends line, a very rare occurrence where a second version of a character makes its appearance before the first. But I like the old-fashioned, I like that 80s crazy robot assassin look. And the good news is, while this was an SDCC exclusive, it is going to be up on Hasbro Pulse. So even if you didn't make it to the convention, you can still get this figure. But here is the exclusive that everyone was clamoring for. The Cobra Commander Once a Man figure. And if we tilt the package, you can see the lenticular artwork change from Cobra Commander into his full snake form and his half snake form. Really, really cool. Great package design. Really gorgeous. Got incredible box art on here. Plus, it has a gatefold cover. So you can see more of the actual figure itself, kind of down in Cobra Law. There's Globulus floating around in the background. And perfect presentation of this gorgeous figure. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get this thing out and take a look at it. Oh my gosh, the details on this figure are absolutely incredible. Here is the Once a Man Cobra Commander, and you can see he's got his in transformation head going, and each of the different like eyeballs that's growing out is like individually painted. Even the one that's up kind of up on top of his forehead, the irises have that inkjet printing on them, and there's such great color gradation across the snake parts of this. Even his torn jacket has paint apps on it so that it looks rough and rough hewn there. He comes with multiple hands. He does have the backpack to hold his classic gun and his knife, but this thing is just great. And of course, it will get into some pretty awesome bend with that waist joint, but it's all about the sculpting and the paintwork on this head. Now, the figure does come with a couple of alternate heads. He comes with a relatively standard Cobra Commander mask. Now, one thing about this, it has that white center stripe that we saw on the cartoon, so I love that that is cartoon accurate and movie accurate. But perhaps the coolest part is his damaged faceplate, and you can switch this out in the helmet and put on the damaged plate where you can see the cracks and everything across the chrome silver. But look at this. When you flip it over, it actually has all of the electronics of Cobra Commander's faceplate in there, even down to like the IV red eyes. Oh, just so super cool. And it fits kind of right over the front of the figure. Oh, this is just, they went all out with this one, and you can really tell it, particularly when you have it in hand. You know, it's got that great classified articulation scheme, but they just didn't scrimp on any of the sculpting and the paint apps. Plus, you get the full-on Cobra version. So he doesn't really have any particular articulation on this one, but the plastic is like a rubbery plastic, and you can bend it just enough, but it will go back into place so that you can strap him around your Roadblock figure and have Roadblock carry him. But again, look at the details. Just look at the sculpting and paint details on this one, even down to the hissing tongue coming out. This was one that I don't think any of us really would have anticipated ever getting in the G.I. Joe Classified line, and it just goes to show that, man, anything is possible with this line. Hey, if you're enjoying this walkthrough Comic-Con, give the video a like, and go ahead and hit subscribe, because we're bringing you top quality content every week. Panels are a huge part of the Comic-Con experience, and I had a near front row seat for the reveal of the newest G.I. Joe HasLab, the Cobra Rattler. After the panel, it was on full display down in the booth, and let me tell you, this thing is an absolute beauty. It reached its funding goal in under a day, and when you look at it, you can absolutely see why. The level of detail and sculpting is phenomenal, and the extra figures that come with it each are uniquely sculpted, including that Baroness, who is a totally new sculpt. Truly amazing. Oh, and bonus, Sergeant Slaughter sighting. The convention exclusives and panels were some of my main goals for the con, but I'm also a huge comics fan, so I brought along some blank sketch covers, hoping to get some original art. Let's just say, I scored on these. Here is my sketch cover from Ryan Ottley. Ottley was the primary artist on Invincible, but once that book finished, he did a great run on Amazing Spider-Man. I was really happy to get this quick sketch on a blank cover for Amazing Spider-Man issue 802, a book that Ottley did the pencil art on. But the real highlight was getting this sketch cover by legendary Spider-Man artist Humberto Ramos. I had left the book with Mr. Ramos earlier in the day and was told to come back at the end and pick it up. So with about 30 minutes left in the convention, I went back by his booth, and there he was doing the pencil art on my sketch. So I just got to sit there and talk to Mr. Ramos, his son, and his representative for like 30 minutes. And it wasn't just like a superficial conversation. He was asking me real questions about the state of fandom. Like, do people care more about characters or do they care more about creators? And I got to really dig into his creative process and learn what he's doing and how he creates these books and incredible characters. It was an unbelievable moment. Just one of those con magic things that you had to experience to believe. When it was finished, he stood up and he shook my hand and he genuinely thanked me for the conversation. I can't tell you how cool that was. After the show closed, I headed over to an invitation-only rooftop party sponsored by Whatnot. It was the perfect end to a perfect day, except it wasn't the end. While we missed the unbelievable drone show that took place above the city, I hooked up with Shartimus Prime and some fellow YouTubers and went and saw the Deadpool Wolverine premiere. Now that was pretty cool.
Yet another shockingly gorgeous day in San Diego as I walked down to the convention center to meet the boys for breakfast. Big day of interviews today, meeting with the Hasbro G.I. Joe team and Marvel team. Let's go see how it goes.
My day started with the Hasbro Marvel Legends panel, which had tons of great reveals that our collections desperately need, like the Inhumans Lockjaw and Crystal. We're getting a new green suit Quicksilver for my Avengers display, and this sweet Doctor Strange that I'm probably going to do a head swap on. Wong was an unexpected plus, as was an all-new Punisher. That's one I know a bunch of people have been waiting on. Hot on the heels of the movie premiere just the night before, Hasbro debuted Marvel Legends from Deadpool Wolverine, which included the two main characters suited up, along with Headpool, who comes with a civilian Wolverine figure. These were down in the booth later that day, and they look great. Dwight said that the team had no idea about any spoilers before seeing the movie. They weren't privy to any insider info, but they had already met that morning to discuss future waves. Instead of a Marvel Legends HasLab this year, we're getting a Pulse exclusive Dragon Man. This thing looks great and will be ordered online with no minimum production number needed. But once the order window is done, there won't be any more, so plan ahead if you want this one. But they saved the best for last.
More! Yes! Woo!
Are you kidding me? We're getting a ROM figure. I mean, after Crystar happened last year, this was the top of everyone's, read my, list, and I truly can't believe this is gonna happen. I don't have many regrets from Comic-Con, but the one that I do is that my Hasbro G.I. Joe team interview was scheduled immediately after the Marvel panel. And so as I was rushing to get out of the hall, several of you guys came up to speak to me and tell me how much you enjoyed the channel and all the content that we're putting out. That means the world to me. You have no idea how good it feels to have somebody come up and tell you that they really enjoy what you're putting out there. But unfortunately, because I was in such a hurry, I really couldn't stop and talk to the fans the way that I wanted to. It's something that I truly regret. And for those of you that saw me, know I really appreciate it. And I hope that we can get more time the next time we're together. I met with Lenny and Tony from the G.I. Joe team down on the convention floor. The full video is available to channel members, not because I'm trying to get y'all to sign up for a channel membership, it's because the sound quality of this video is not up to the standards of the main channel, and that's my fault. I'm still learning. But here are some takeaways from our interview. Lenny says they are committed to completing the original 13 Joes. That is a priority for them. The success of the Vamp and the Stinger means that all mid-size vehicles are on the table. They were super excited for the support shown for those vehicles, and they're actively planning more. The HasLab Rattler had just funded, so I asked them, with 3 straight HasLab home runs, would they consider even larger vehicles than the Rattler? I was basically trying to roundabout ask about a Sky Striker, and Lenny said the support for the Rattler definitely opens doors for exploring even bigger vehicles. Finally, I ask about fellow Clemson man William the Refrigerator Perry coming into the line. Let's just say they were enthusiastic. Meanwhile, next door at the Mattel Creations booth, it was all about Masters of the Universe. Their latest MOTU crowdfund is the Snake Lair. This thing is huge. It's almost as big as the Eternia playset. And while it does look like a super fun toy, lots of early reviews said it looks more like an Imaginext playset than a high-end crowdfund. Personally, I've really been loving the cartoon collection, and I was glad to see 6 new additions to the line on display. Masterverse was represented with another 6 figures as well. These have been really well done, and I'm glad to see both of these lines continuing. Now it's back to the Hasbro booth to chat it up with the Marvel Legends team. Once again, the audio just isn't up to par, so the full interview is available to members. But some highlights from this talk include Dwight spitting out his wish list of future figures for Marvel Legends.
We don't even think about it. It's Living Brain, it's Gossamer, it's the rest of the Reavers, it's Dr. Pong, it's
Rolling, right? We're rolling.
Phantom Rider, it's Slade, it's the original Ghost. I got a lot of things.
It's Rocket Racer and Big Wheel.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a lot of things that I want to see.
That was pretty awesome. Then I brought up the question that I hear most commonly on this channel. Where can I get a Spider-Man figure? Often, when you walk into a Walmart or a Target, there simply isn't a red and blue Spidey available, or Iron Man or Cap or whoever it is that you really want. So I floated the idea of using that amazing packaging from Death's Head, you remember, based off the Marvel trading cards, and having like a Hall of Fame line where the heavy hitters from Marvel Legends are always available. It could, be an online exclusive line, but it would always give new collectors a chance to pick up a Spidey, or whoever it is that you want. A way that we had in the 80s where Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and Duke and Snake Eyes were always on the shelves, there needs to be a way that new collectors can always have access to get a Spider-Man or an Iron Man. The guys honestly listened and seemed to genuinely appreciate the feedback from you, the fans. Then I asked them to make Power Pack figures, and the interview ended. With another successful day in the books, I slink back to my hotel under the watchful eyes of this sentinel.
It is yet another shockingly gorgeous day in San Diego as we head in for Saturday at Comic-Con. You can see we've got the Olympics on the big TVs over to the left. There's the convention center right ahead of us. So, gonna go meet with Bandai, interview their team. Gonna hang out hopefully this afternoon with some other toy YouTubers. Let's go have some more adventures.
Saturday morning began with the opportunity to meet with Justin Cavender from Bandai America to discuss some of the upcoming plans from the company. Bandai is the second largest toy maker in the world, and they have a diffuse catalog of offerings. As with the others, the full interview is available on the channel for channel members. SH Figuarts had the world premiere of their Deadpool and Wolverine figures at the show. Both look incredible with the levels of sculpt and articulation that we've come to expect from these premium imports. Also, the previously announced Spider-Verse figures of Spider-Man India and Spider-Punk were available. Both have unbelievable amounts of paint apps, which really bring these characters to three-dimensional life. One final reveal was of Gwen and Miles from their ledge scene. You can even see Gwen's cheeks pushed up from the gravity of sitting upside down. Just a fantastic level of detail. Justin said that there are more figures being considered in this line, partly based on how well these do. He was very excited for the new Gundam products associated with the upcoming series Gundam Requiem for Vengeance. The show had a huge presence on the con floor, with a dedicated Gundam shop flanked by these opposing mechs. Justin described the show like All Quiet on the Western Front, where we see the story from the perspective of the bad guys, those soldiers who are seeing a Gundam for the first time. I thought that sounded fascinating, and we'll definitely check this out when it premieres on Netflix. Unfortunately, Justin had no information on any product coming out in support of my favorite anime's 50th anniversary, Space Battleship Yamato, known as Star Blazers in the US. Fingers crossed we get more Yamato product before the end of the year. Longtime channel viewers know that I am a huge classic LEGO space fan, and man was I in luck because the LEGO booth was all about space this year. In addition to huge displays, you could build your own LEGO spaceship to earn a commemorative patch. This is seriously one of my favorite things that I got at the con. I love that classic spaceman logo. This patch immediately found a home down in my LEGO space display. Before heading to my next panel, I swung by the Super7 booth and got a great look at the upcoming 2003 Turtles figures. I'm not as familiar with that cartoon as I am with the 2012 version, but man, these are looking really great. Nacelle hosted a panel about their documentary series, The Toys That Made Us. It has been several years since the third series premiered, but they announced the lineup for seasons 4 and 5, with season 4 kicking off with superhero toys. I thought about asking them if they needed me to be an executive producer, since that's basically what this channel has been doing for years. Other upcoming episodes will focus on fast food toys, as well as Nerf, Pokemon, Hot Wheels, and Ghostbusters. 8 episodes in total, and they all look fantastic. I also got confirmation that Season 7 of A Toy Store Near You is scheduled to come out towards the end of the year, and it might just feature your favorite YouTuber in one of the episodes. Even with hundreds of panels at the main convention center, there are even more off-site panels in the area around the Gaslamp district. On my way to see one of them, I spotted what looked like a classic dive bar, and let's face it, I couldn't resist. I grab a pint of the local brew, $3.94 Pale Ale, named after local hero Tony Gwynn's batting average in 1994, the highest in Major League Baseball in the past 80 years. Lil Spidey and I were feeling quite refreshed after our stop. Next, it was time to hang out with my fellow toy YouTubers at the Toy Tubers Unite panel, hosted by Jay from Geek Dad Life. The panel went through some of the biggest releases of the con, and the guys from Mondo Toys were there to hand out some pretty sweet door prizes. The show ended with Toy Anxiety's hilarious reading of sad comments. It was great, and it gave me another opportunity to connect with other creators in our community. People watching at Comic-Con can become a full-time thing. You never know what you're going to see, from King Arthur with his coconuts marching down the street to every possible version of the Spider-Verse. I even had Mola Ram try to rip my heart out of my chest. But the two best that I saw were this incredible Doc Ock cosplay, look at how genius the movement of his tentacles is. And this Spock literally stopped me in my tracks. But for all the toys and panels and product reveals, this is still a Comic-Con, and I felt like I needed to go digging through some long boxes. Most of the comics at the show were crazy high-end, but I did pick up this classic Daredevil issue from Frank Miller's landmark run on the title. There was plenty original comic art to be found at the show as well, including a page of original Ditko art from issue 22 of Amazing Spider-Man. It could be yours for only $130,000. But nothing compared to this full-page Spider-Man pinup by the man, Steve Ditko himself. A truly landmark piece of comic art. It recently sold at auction for over $600,000. It's kind of hard to believe I'm standing here holding a piece of art worth well over $500,000. Crazy. One more toy. NECA had their Flash Gordon and the Wood Beast set out on display. I snapped this pic and sent it to my brother. He immediately wrote back, "Nightmare fuel." So I'm not really that into celebrities and autographs, but right after I saw the Flash Gordon Wood Beast figure, I was walking on the convention floor and I ran into Flash Gordon's booth. Yes, Sam Jones, the actor who plays Flash Gordon, had a booth set up. And you could pay to get like a selfie and an autograph. And I was like, nah, that's not really what I'm here for. Then I looked down at his table and I saw this. This is a mock Flash Gordon football card. It is an exact replica of the 1980 Topps set, which is perfect timing from the movie. That would have been Flash's last football card before going off to Mongo. So I saw it and I'm like, all right, I'm going to get an autograph and I'm going to get a picture. So he's signing my card and I take off my badge and he looks at my shirt and he says, "Carbon Scoring, what's that?" And I'm like, this is the best place for comics, history, and action figures. He says, "Action figures? Have you seen the Wood Beast?" And I'm like, yeah, I saw it, and there's no way that I'm getting that thing. That was the most traumatic moment of my entire childhood. And he just kind of laughs and he goes, "Do you know the whole story behind the Wood Beast?" I'm like, no. So he says that they're filming this on location. They're on the sets and they're going from set to set because they're running behind. And they were scheduled to go and do filming in another site, but they passed the Wood Beast set. And so the director's like, okay, no, let's go ahead and film this one right now. So Sam looks at it and it's this huge like stump. It's like the size of, a minivan is how big this thing is. And he looks at the production designer and he goes, "How long has this thing been sitting here?" And the guy's like, "It's been here for 3 weeks." And he's like, "Has anybody shined a flashlight to see if there's any like critters or rats or spiders in there?" And the guy's like, so before they can do that, the director's like, "Okay, let's film this scene." So Flash is like, the reason why there's so much intensity in that scene is they really had no idea what they were sticking their hand down into. It was such a cool story, and just getting to hang out with Sam Jones and live this and talk about this was really, really cool. I love that Flash Gordon movie, and now to have met Flash himself and gotten some insight into what what filming was like, especially that crazy scene that has stayed with me my whole life, totally awesome. Sadly, all good things must come to an end, but I couldn't leave the show without letting Lil Spidey go back and see his new friends one more time. My Comic-Con experience was absolutely unbelievable, and again, I owe it all to you guys. So thank you very much for sending me to San Diego. And if you like this, hey, we'll do it again next year. But until then, for the best in comics, history, and action figures, subscribe to Carbon Scoring.